All right, hi everybody. Thank you for coming and spending the day with us at this beautiful theatre and learning about what's cool and exciting about Nearmap, all the new things. Appreciate you hanging around and I hope you get something out of this session. My name is IGOR ZEVAKA and I work for Nearmap, as you can probably tell from my shirt. I'm not the blue wiggle. I actually do something exciting. I'm a product manager for API and integration, which means that I'm kind of across most things integration-wise. So if something works brilliantly, I'm probably behind it. If it doesn't, I'm sure it's somebody else's fault. All right, so today we're going to talk about integrations and really bringing our data into your applications. The year is 2019, as you may already know, and it's still very hard to ship large quantities of data over internet. Wi-Fi happens to be the biggest culprit. We had it at our office. I had a big download, I walked around with my laptop and it just failed. So there you are. So believe it or not, whether or not you're on Wi-Fi or using Ethernet, makes a big difference to how we design our products. Coming back to the reason why we're here, we're going to talk about what does Nearmap do to enable our data in your applications, of which there are many. You would have seen some of those earlier this morning, in this morning session, in the context of 3D. These are just the programs that can do 3D. Some of them do 2D data as well, but it's a big world out there. There's lots of very specialized software, and the features that those software packages provide, we simply can't get them all. So we are quite happy, in fact, we insist that you do whatever suits your workflow and will enable easier integration into those platforms. In addition to lots of software packages out there, we have a lot of content. Over the 10 years that Nearmap's been operating, we've covered in excess of 6.5 million kilometres of aggregate capture. That's almost the whole of Australia. We've covered over 6,700 surveys, and a survey is what an airplane can capture in one day, about 1,000 square kilometres. So it's a lot of content, and what I want you to think about it for the next couple of minutes is how much of that content is relevant to you. Do you care about all of Nearmap content? Some of you probably do, a lot of you probably don't. Keep that in mind. I also wanted to talk about 17 petabytes of content. That's a lot of content. Petabyte is 1,000 terabytes. It really is big data, and we make it accessible at a touch of a button. There are other challenges in sending our content into your workflows. There's an ever-increasing number of content types. With 3D, we didn't just add one type of 3D. Within that, there are other 3D content types. As we add in the AI outputs down the track, there'll be even more content types. So we've gone beyond simple top-down maps. The capture footprints change all the time. You've heard Mashenda talk about the operational reasons for why surveys change and what our pilots have to do. They change all the time. Sometimes it's because our program expands, sometimes it's because it changes shape, sometimes a new ATC regulation comes in, which means we have to change where we cover, where we fly. And that somewhat breaks the pattern that existed in enterprise GIS and the local governments, for example, always covering their LGA area every single year, and it's always the same footprint. We simply can't afford to do that because we want to capture all the time. And if changing a survey footprint and changing that shape completely helps us bring more content to you, we will absolutely do that. As an example of what that means, some of you have worked with our WMS. Our WMS is not the most intuitive beast to work with, and if you're looking for a capture for a particular date, you need to figure out which one of those folders it lives. This is a byproduct of that changing survey footprint. It's a challenge for us. We have a solution for that. We will get to the solutions. There's another problem. It's a slow-moving animal. It's not the three-toed sloth, although the sloth is kind of cute. It's the Australian continent. Australia moves all the time, about 7 centimetres per year. It moves a lot more than any other country, which brings its own unique challenges. You may have heard about the dreaded GDA 2020, GDA 94 difference, which is 1.8 metres. Some of the media even spun it as, oh my God, all of a sudden in 2020 Australia is 1.8 metres inaccurate. Of course, you'll know that that's not the case, but that's something that we have to consider. And because we captured content for the last 10 years, our content has shifted by a different amount from GDA 94. Well, let's not dwell on the problems too much. Let's talk solutions. How do we get around this? So let's start with expanding content portfolio. How are we going to bring that data into your hands? And the answer to that is 3D export. With 3D export, you'll be able to get your hands onto our 3D content in a variety of formats that suit your applications and get stuck into it. It's available now as part of Nearmap 3D, and there are 4 content types to choose from. And these are just content types within 3D. Let's have a look at what they are. So first we have DSM, also known as Digital Surface Model. It's a raster data type, and it basically has an elevation value for every pixel. Very similar to your raster maps, but instead of having color, it just has elevation points. Very powerful to use as an analytical data source. You can use it to calculate roof pitch, line of sight, solar irradiation, etc. Textured mesh. Textured mesh is what you see in the browser. As part of our 3D product, the 3D viewer product that you see in our map browser, you get access to textured mesh. And textured mesh, the easiest way to explain that, it's kind of a continuous colored surface, kind of like a 3D game. We also have point cloud, and point cloud is another way to present 3D landscape. Instead of having a continuous surface, you just have a bunch of colored points. Between the mesh and the point cloud, they're very equivalent. However, some programs work better with point cloud than they do with textured mesh. We make both available. You tend to find that Autodesk Space works better with point clouds than they do with mesh. And we also have True Ortho. True Ortho is my favorite content type. I know it's a bit silly to have a favorite content type, but I kind of like it. It's a lot like maps. It looks and smells like maps, but it's got one very important feature, and that is the tops of the buildings are always on the top, directly above the bottoms of the buildings. And that's important when you're trying to do some analytics with DSM. You're trying to figure out where the roofs of the buildings are, and when the roofs of the buildings shift by up to 6 meters for tall buildings, it becomes a bit of an issue. True Ortho solves that. 3D export is available now. You can export up to 50 square kilometers at a time, which is a massive increase from our current export capability, which is limited to 0.2 square kilometers at highest resolution. We've really upped the dial on that and changed the architecture of how it works completely. It can be any shape. We are not restricting this export to be rectangular, to be an extent. It can be any old polygon. Because it's all self-serve, it's in your hands in minutes for smaller areas. Larger areas may take some time. If you select all the content types and export all of Manhattan, it will take some hours, and I've tried that. Long wait. Very complex terrain. There are lots of high-rises, lots of just high buildings of 6 stories and more, and it's about 40 square kilometers. With this export, once you have the data, you can go nuts and put it into any of your applications. Anything Esri, most things Autodesk, many other software, such as Bentley and Skyline. So, what about those other physical challenges, such as ever-changing footprints and many overlapping captures and all those things? Well, we have a number of existing APIs and APIs that are closely to be released to make that possible. So let's start with the Tile API. Tile API is probably our oldest publicly documented protocol, and it provides you a standard Google Maps, or it's a Google Maps style protocol. It's a very, very common format, and it's ridiculously easy to get that into your custom application or even some off-the-shelf application. It has simple date control, and it's a very simple way to present Nearmap as a base map for your application. You don't need to worry about footprints or bringing in the right layer. You just add the Tile API and we'll do all the overlaying of the images and all the different surveys together. It'll just work for you. Optionally, you can specify dates and say, I only want to bring in imagery as late as 1st of December 2017, if your application calls for that. Lots of other nifty features. If you want to do bulk consumption and download large swaths of imagery to do your own processing, maybe run some ML on it, Tile API is the choice for that. It is stupidly fast. You can download at a high rate. What about other applications? What about WMS and your big GIS applications where you care about the projections? Well, I'm very excited to announce the WMS V2, or the new version of WMS, that we are bringing to market in the next couple of months. With the new WMS, you will be able to define the area of interest that works for you, that represents your project, your local government area, your bit of infrastructure, and generate your own custom, personalized WMS endpoint. And with that WMS endpoint, you will get all the dates available for that area as a simple flat list. And you can see a little cutout there. You get a flat list of dates, which means that there's no guessing. There's no guessing which folder they belong to. You can simply get access to all the dates that Nearmap has for your particular area. We're also making GDA 2020 available as in that WMS. And not only we make GDA 2020 available, we are also supporting GDA 94 in the same service. And what this means, if your organization is in the process of transitioning from GDA 94 to GDA 2020, actually, can I just have a show of hands of who is transitioning to GDA 2020, or at least want to or need to? Okay, so as part of doing that, what I'd imagine you'd be doing or have already done is take all your assets, which I'd imagine are things like road overlays, property boundaries, road assets, street furniture, etc., and converting them from GDA 94 to GDA 2020. You'll have two data sets left. And then you want to make sure that they all work together and they work as expected. And when you verify that they do, you would archive off the GDA94 datasets. We're going to be here to support you. With our new version of WMS, you'll get access to both GDA94 and GDA 2020, which means when you're ready to switch to GDA 2020, or even if you're testing it, all you have to do is just drag the GDA 2020 layer and test the alignment of your GDA 2020 vector data to the Nearmap imagery. And if it all lines up correctly, then we're all set. Very excited to be bringing that out. It's going to make a lot of your problems disappear, make a lot of our support issues disappear. Let's do a deep dive. Let's show you what does it actually look like. What do those exports look like? What does the new WMS look like? Before we do that, let me kind of wrap it in a nice example for you. And it's something that some of you may do on your day-to-day basis. We'll do a road infrastructure project. And this is a real project that is happening in Perth. And it's an intersection of Ocean Road and Wanneroo Road. I hope I say this correctly. If I'm not, come and educate me after the session. Here's what it looks like. I will bring your attention to this little bit here. There's a bypass that they're going to build. And currently, there's nothing there. It's just a paddock. Keep that in mind. So, let me show you what it actually looks like. Once you download the 3D export, we'll start with the 3D export. Once you download 3D export, you'll get a whole bunch of folders. And those folders will contain the content types that you've exported. So let's have a look at ArcGIS Pro. And by the way, this works with programs other than ArcGIS Pro. I just happen to be using this as a demo. So I've exported this particular area, and note that it's not a rectangle export. I've actually followed the road to get you a single image that follows the geography. In roads, we found that our customers want to do that. Rarely that a rectangle satisfies the needs for the content, relevant content for that they're after. And as the export size gets bigger, it becomes even more relevant. So out of the gate, you will get the area that you're actually interested in. Here's the area that is the proposed interchange. And you can see that where that bypass is going to be is just a paddock. So this is true ortho, and it looks kind of underwhelming. You know, why, Igor, why are you showing this to us? Well, I didn't just bring in true ortho, I also brought in DSM. And DSM is even less exciting. I mean, what can you do with that? Not much. However, when you take that data set and plug it into an application that can work with the surface model and can visualize it in many different ways, the analytical power of DSM really shines through. So here I've generated a shaded relief map. A shaded relief map simply colorizes the elevation based on a whole bunch of predefined rules. And so what you can see is that this paddock here, where they're building a bypass, it changes gradient. It's got elevation going up towards the northeastern quadrant. And that's important. When you are about to do an initial estimate, do initial planning, to get you those answers, the fact that there is some elevation there within a matter of minutes is very powerful. Very powerful to visualize that as well. The ArcGIS Pro in this example is not limited to doing relief maps. It can also do things like contour maps. So you can generate contour maps on the surface model. Now, It's a little bit silly to generate contour maps on the surface model because most of the time you don't care about the houses. But if you care about paddocks, that would get you the elevation map, the contour map for that area. No need to wait, 6 months to 18 months for your next LiDAR capture. Now, of course, LiDAR will be more accurate, but at the very early planning stages of your development, you want quick answers. We can provide you quick answers. Let's do something else. Let's take this data and create an elevation profile. I'm going to switch over to QGIS and we'll go somewhere local. You're all familiar with this landscape. Let's have a look at the Opera House. Let's do an elevation profile. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do an elevation profile of the Opera House sails, just to show you what it looks like. There you go, it's that simple. This is the combination of true ortho and DSM. The surface model, the analytical data set, powers the elevation profile. And you can see that it follows the sails of the Opera House quite nicely. It's a little bit stretched out, but you can see the pattern. Now, what's interesting about true ortho is that the tops of the buildings are going to have much better registration between surveys and to the surface model from the same survey. So if I follow this, if I follow the graph, you can see that right at the point where the elevation changes corresponds to what you can see the edge of the building is. If you're putting cranes in the CBD, you could be up to 10 meters out, and 10 meters is a big difference. True ortho would solve that. So that's DSM, true ortho. Let's have a look at 3D, the 3D mesh. I'm going to open up a Bentley Acute 3D viewer and again show you that same area that I exported. Let me just orient it so it's north is up, roughly there. Here it is in your application, and it looks stunning, and it's nice and fast. I actually like using this program a lot. Again, if you're using Bentley Suite, which happens a lot in the infrastructure space, you can just take this content and run with it. Pretty cool. And last but not least is the Tile API. What can you do with Tile API? I'm not going to show you how to develop a custom web application, not today. I will put out a call and see if somebody wants to see that. I'll be quite happy to demonstrate that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add a tile layer to ArcGIS Online. Again, this particular protocol is compatible with more things than ArcGIS Online. It literally is the most supported mapping protocol out there. But I'm using this as an example. So we're back to Perth, back to the proposed interchange. So what we're going to do is we're going to add 2 Nearmap layers to this map. Why would you want to do that? Well, if you're using ArcGIS Online and or a compatible type of web application, maybe GeoCortex Essentials, you'd be creating lots of different web maps for example, stakeholder engagement. Maybe it's internal stakeholders, maybe it's external stakeholders. You want to create really focused maps that will take a user through a workflow to show a proposed development. In this case, we're going to do a little before and after. So we're going to create a web map, we're going to add a before image, we're going to add an after image, and then let your users play with it. So I'm going to go in and don't worry about remembering any of this, although if you can remember my API key, that would be amazing. I will invalidate that API key. Don't stress, Ian. So I'm going to add a layer from web. I'm going to say that it's a tile layer. And I'm just going to show this, call this before. And just like that, you have successfully integrated Nearmap with this ArcGIS Online map. So now I can toggle this on and off. And this is, by the way, this is an Esri our base map. Now we have a snapshot of this area before the construction started. Let's do another layer. And I've configured the dates differently here to show me the latest. I'm going to paste this in. And this will give me the latest imagery. So whenever there's new coverage, this layer will update. And you can see that construction has started. And of course, you can add multiple explicit dates or relative dates. There's a lot of ways you can play with this. But even here, you can see that you can switch from well, the construction has started, something's happening, to what it was like before any of this has gone on. And you know, this being a tiled API, it's nice and fast. It loads very quickly. So you can get to that amazing clear images very quickly. All right, one more. We're going to go back to QGIS. And in QGIS, let's say that you're working on your site plan. I'm just going to quickly change projections. Let's say that you're working on a site plan map. One of those big A0 posters that you would see on the fence of a construction site that shows you the roads, the access points, gates, radio frequencies, all the stuff that the construction folk need. You'll typically use a desktop GIS application such as QGIS or ArcMap, ArcGIS Pro, MapInfo, one of those. And you want to bring in the Nearmap imagery into that. If you have your specific assets that are in particular projections, you may want to control what projection you bring the imagery in. That's when you can use the new Nearmap WMS, actually even the old WMS, it gives you control over projections. For my construction site, for my road interchange, I've defined that area, and now I've got a list of dates that goes back to the beginning of time, which is about 2007 for Perth. Nice flat list of dates, and you can drag any of them into your project and you will get that date. No more guessing as to where it is. So you know, very exciting bit of tech that we're taking to beta over the next couple of months and then releasing shortly after. As I said before, the shape for your service, the spatial extent is not just an extent, it's a polygon. So you can put any shape that you want into that, because requirements change. Even a pony. Why do we want a pony? Why do we want a WMS service that's in the shape of a pony, Ian? Because everyone wants a pony. Now, it's a little bit silly to define all your WMS services as ponies, but you get the point. You want to personalize this thing, you want it to follow the road, you want it to follow the terrain, you have some odd-shaped terrain, you want to bring in the most relevant dates for that. This is when it becomes useful. It's a cute pioneer too, I must say. And again, you can have pioneers of different dates. So you can bring in any date and you can see that the imagery changes shape, changes what it looks like. All right, so that's it for the demos. Couple of more things. So that was a lot of content, a lot of ways to work with Nearmap. How do you know what's right? How do you know where to start? Let's try and cut through that. Starting with the web apps, and especially custom web apps. If you're building desktop apps, I'd be very keen to know why nobody builds web apps, non-web apps these days. If you're a partner that wants to create your own workflow on top of Nearmap imagery, Tile API. It's the best place to start. It will work with literally anything. Lots of web mapping frameworks, Google Maps SDK, OpenLayer, Leaflet, ArcGIS, very compatible. If you want to download content in bulk, and this is vertical content only, Tile API is the right choice for you as well. Basemap for vector data. If you have an enterprise geodatabase with your own vectors, roads, parcels, road signs, etc., WMS is more appropriate because most likely that data is either GDA94 or GDA 2020. Again, to support the GDA94 to GDA 2020, you will need to use the new version of WMS. And for 3D, it's the export. Export is available now. So what can you do now? I know I've kind of straddled between things that are available now to things that are maybe available later. What can you do today? Well, today, you can create an interactive web map using a Tile API. You can use existing WMS and bring in the relevant imagery for your location in any of the GDA94 projections. You can get Nearmap 3D into your applications, and there are many options. If your application supports kind of 3D content, there may be an opportunity there to use Nearmap goodies. You can also sign up for WMS v2 beta. And you sign up by SMSing research to that phone number and filling out the form that you get back. When we take this to beta, which is imminent, we'll work with a few customers to make sure that we, just to confirm that our understanding of what a good service is aligned to your understanding of what a good service is, although I think we've done a pretty good job, but you never know. So very excited to be working with a few of you to take this to market. As to what's coming up in the near future and somewhat more distant future, here's our roadmap. I'm not going to talk through every single bit there. Lots of cool stuff that we're working on. You know, 3D export, coverage API, that's already out. Custom WMS is going to be out very shortly. A better version of 2D export, so taking all the infrastructure and all the learnings of being able to export large sections of 3D, we're going to bring that to 2D. When we do that, we will support GDA 2020. Future, who knows? But again, the pattern that we use when we bring out new forms of content is to get it into the map browser, let people have a play with it, and then expose it through a set of APIs. Export will help. Export will help because with this emerging content, not many people do that. There are no protocols, there are no formats for a lot of this stuff. There are a lot of vendor formats. In the case of AI, well, there is no, apart from the existing spatial protocols, there is no patterns, no protocols for doing that. So we're going to be playing by ear. And that's why we're going to refine those workflows in Map Browser and then bring them through APIs so you can get them into your applications. Talk to us. Absolutely talk to us. We're happy, we're more than happy. In fact, we want to talk to as many customers as possible because talking to you guys helps us bring out new products, helps us make your lives easier. Join the WMS beta program. Any issues, bug reports, general questions, support at nearmap.com. Those guys are amazing. They're very responsive. They'll help you out in a flash. That is a commitment. For compliments and how things are amazing, talk to me. That's my email there. But no, seriously, if you have specific feedback, roadmap questions, awkward things that you don't know if it's a question, you don't know if it's possible, you don't know where to start, just email me. To join the WMS beta program, again, it's just text research to that number. And with that, thank you very much, and shout out if you have any questions. Thank you.